Okay, hi! I meant to do this video in December, but I kinda ran out of time. I just wanted to look back at some of my favorite fursuit pictures I got in 2025 and just yap about them. I just love fursuit photography so much. When you have a big, well-crafted costume like this, I think it's natural to want to show it off a little bit, and I'm definitely guilty of that. I'll be honest, getting a fursuit has actually really inspired me to think more about outfits and poses, even though I'm definitely still learning to put together good outfits and doing good poses. But anyway, I just wanted a chance to talk about how much I enjoy fursuit photography by looking back at my favorite pictures I got last year. So I hope you enjoy! I live in the southern United States, and in theoretical theory, it should be decently warm year-round, but it does tend to get pretty cold during the winter months. I personally don't like the cold weather, but I can appreciate snow when it happens, and believe it or not, we do get snow every now and then. We got a few inches last January, which was more than enough for a quick fursuit photo shoot. I don't exactly live in a super breathtaking area, so the pics I got were pretty straightforward, but I still have a handful that I liked. Most of them were just me sitting on the snow and doing a few different poses. I just wanted to look relaxed, so I didn't really do anything crazy here. I will say though, this one photo where I'm laying down was really fun. Definitely one of the more silly ones I got last year. I also got a few photos standing with a small forest in the background, which were pretty decent as well. I'm not exactly sure how to describe this set of pictures. They make me think of encountering an animal while walking in the forest. I do think there was more potential for that sort of theme if I just got closer to the forest and probably tried different poses. But overall, for a quick photo shoot in the snow, I think these turned out alright. And I got the chance to be just a little silly afterward. In late March, I went out of state for one of the most fun meets last year. It was with a group called Music City Furs in Tennessee. Shout out to Music City Furs for sure. Love you guys are great. Definitely make my 2-hour drive for the meets worth it. The meet was supposed to be at Nashville's Bicentennial Park, which is obviously outdoors, but there was a bit of rain, so it moved to a farmer's market a short drive away. But not before some of the furs who were already in fursuit got together for a few pictures together. I'm really happy I got to join in, and we also got a pretty silly video. Listen, it looks so simple, but I promise those were the hardest arm movements I've ever tried to do. Then, at the farmer's market, we got 2 of my favorite group photos that I was part of last year. There were these vegetable statues of sorts that were just perfect for fursuiters to pose with. Plus, I got a couple of duo pics with some of the fursuiters, which are also some of my favorites from last year. And there's also this picture of me barely hanging from a tree. I know it's not the prettiest picture, but I think it's one of the underrated ones that I got last year. I don't know why, but I just really like it. Shout out to Roxy for taking all these pictures, by the way, especially this one, considering how hard it was for me to stay still. Just a month later, I was back in Nashville for the Cherry Blossom Festival there. Now, there was a bunch of stuff that didn't quite go as I was expecting, from confusion about cosplay covering people's faces, to there not being any cherry blossom trees. I didn't really wear my partial that much, but the times I did, I managed to get some pics that I liked a lot. There was a fountain where most of the furries who went met up, so I did the tiniest photo shoot there. A bit of a funny note, if you look closely, you can see the tail of the fursuiter who was sitting next to me dipped in the water. We didn't notice until it was too late, but thankfully it was just water. Now, one of my normie friends also wanted to check out the festival, so he and his girlfriend went separately. But we met up afterward, and he helped me with some pics, which actually ended up being some of my favorites from last year. Maybe they're not perfect, but I'm honestly just so happy with how I looked in each one. I liked them so much I actually tried a few different filters on them, so not a bad set of pictures considering how messy the trip ended up being. Now in May, I finally got the chance to do a photo shoot closer to home when some local furs met up at the Botanical garden in our city. I briefly mentioned this in my previous video about going fursuiting at a light show at the garden. Okay, I think I've been in this place before. I think it's supposed to be some kind of oriental looking area. And wow, the way that it's just decorated. And I'll touch on the light show later. But for this photo shoot in May, it might just be my favorite for 2025. Our photographer did incredibly well. Huge shout out to Psycho Wolf, whose socials I can't find unfortunately. We took pictures in a few different spots. First was this oriental-looking area, which was honestly my favorite, and still is my favorite part of the garden. It's just such a cool area surrounded by water, and a walkway with what looks like windows on the sides, which can give you some really good backgrounds. I honestly want to go back on a regular day to get more pictures here, because there's just so much more potential for photo shoots. Then there was another area that kinda reminds me of some ruins. It's a more simple environment, but the photos here turned out great. I went with more casual and relaxed poses, and I feel like I pulled them off better than I expected. This batch of photos has probably some of my absolute favorites that I've ever gotten since I started fursuiting, so definitely makes this photo shoot stand out a lot more. We also had a few group photos in this area, but we really had to grind for them. Climbing those pillars is not easy when you're not in shape like me at the time. It was totally worth the effort though, and I definitely wouldn't mind getting more fursuit pictures here too. We also stopped by a more wooded area where I got just a couple of nice pictures. Nothing super crazy with the poses or anything, but I don't think I needed anything super extravagant here anyway. Finally, we were back near the beginning of the garden where we had a nice backdrop of the small lake with a fountain and a lot of trees nearby. Here I relied a lot on the small fence on the side of the walking path, and while the poses here are more relaxed and simple, I honestly think some of these pictures are postcard worthy. I'm really happy I had this opportunity to go out with some local furs and just take some photos in a cool place. This is what I'd love to do more often, but it's tough finding other fursuiters nearby who want to do photo shoots. That's why I value chances like these a lot. Skipping all the way to August, I actually got a little tired of not having anyone to do photo shoots with, so I decided to do one on my own in a public area. I definitely don't recommend doing this unless you're seriously familiar with where you're going, and it's at least mostly safe. Of course, just use your best judgment though. There's a big brick structure that's kinda like a pavilion near the arcade that I go to. I think it's used to host small events for the apartment complex that's just a short walk away. But I wanted to use it for a photo shoot because I know it's kind of out of the way and not super crowded all the time, and I honestly impressed myself. I can only do so much when I'm my own photographer, and especially since I really don't know too much about taking good pictures, but I got away with a lot of good ones from this. I was definitely going for a more stylish feel in this photo shoot. I'm honestly really proud of what I was able to do, from the camera angles to the poses, which is really all I had to work with anyway. I'm especially happy with this one picture though. I love poses where the subject has their back to the camera, and I think I pulled off everything pretty well with this one. After this set of pictures, I'm definitely a lot more inspired to do more solo photo shoots in photogenic places, and try to go for more stylish looks too. By the way, I also have art that was inspired by this photo shoot. Obviously, it looks amazing. I love the golden look from the sunlight, the expression is simple but very fitting, and I love that it's not an exact redraw of one of the pictures I took. It's actually a different pose than what I did, but it still captures that stylish feel that I was going for in the photo shoot. He literally looks like a model, and I love it so much. This was actually a gift from a friend, and even though she didn't confirm nor deny that it was inspired by the photo shoot, she and the artist did great working together on this one. In September, I found myself back in Tennessee for the millionth time last year. The furry scene up there is just really active when it comes to meets. This time there was a meet at a smaller park, and we took over a small pavilion of sorts. I took just a little bit of time to take some pics on a railing just to see how they would turn out, and I was pleasantly surprised. Of course, it's nothing insanely stunning or anything, but they're just some nice pics using the environment. Because the sunlight was hitting me from the side, my face ended up being kinda dark, and I struggled a little bit on whether I should edit these pictures. I remember I was able to brighten them up, but I was a little afraid they looked too edited. Plus, it's not like I'm editing with Photoshop or anything, although I'd like to learn. I just adjust simple settings like the brightness, exposure, contrast, and other similar stuff. I ended up posting these without editing, which I think was fine, but I do wonder if they looked better with the little bit of editing that I did. There was also a person at the meet who offered to take a picture of me, which is this one you see now. It's honestly perfect, except for my belt strap that carries my tail. I need to find a better way to hide it, or just come up with another solution for carrying my tail, because this isn't the first time the belt has shown up on pictures. Plus, the same person took a few duo pictures of me and another fursuiter, and I absolutely love this fursuiter suit. I was so happy to get these at the meet, and I'm super grateful for the photographer as well. Unfortunately, I don't have their socials either, which sucks because I bet they've taken a lot of other great pictures. Next up are the pics I've taken the furthest away from home. I went to the Netherlands to see my good friend Patch, and of course we had to get some pictures together. If you don't know, he draws charcoal portraits while wearing his fursuit. It's one of the coolest things that I've seen just in the fandom in general. In fact, some of you probably know that he drew this portrait that I have hanging right here. I can't remember exactly when he did it, but it must have been spring or early summer last year, and if you told me that I would have this portrait hanging with me by the time the 2025 ended, I would not have believed you whatsoever. I just wasn't expecting that trip to happen. It kinda came out of nowhere, but everything lined up, so I just went for it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining at all. I just think it's crazy that I have this portrait, not because Pat shipped it to me, but because I went to the Netherlands and got it from him in person. Back to the photos now, we took some silly ones in Patch's studio. I tend to focus a lot on appearing casual or stylish when I do photo shoots, but of course, most fursuits are naturally cute, there's just no denying that. Which is why I love doing straight up fun and playful photos like these as well. We also fursuited just a tiny bit in public and got some other great pics. It's a little hard taking a lot of pictures when we don't have a handler, but these duo photos are definitely some of my favorites from 2025. And also during the trip, Patch was my photographer for just a couple of small photo shoots. We went to a windmill, which is one of the things the Netherlands is known for. Of course, it was mostly just snapping a picture with the windmill, so pretty straightforward. But even though these pics were simple, they still turned out great. Then we went to a small flower field where Patch took some of my favorite photos of the year. I always have a hard time taking pictures with the sun directly in the background, but Patch made it work so well. And he also helped me with the poses for the photo shoot, so he's the reason the pics are so good. Not only did they turn out great, but they also carry some incredible memories. So it is particularly nice looking back on these. In fact, looking at these pictures again gives me a sort of nostalgic feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. I think it just feels like these are the kinds of pictures you'd see from a trip overseas, which is special to me because it is the first time that I've traveled so far away. No doubt this is one of my favorite photo shoots from last year, but it is also up there as one of my favorites in general. I definitely want to go back to the Netherlands and do more photo shoots along with Patch. Now that we went through my favorite photo shoots, I do want to do a few honorable mentions. These are photos that either weren't actually part of a dedicated photo shoot, or came from a very small photo shoot. Take these from Valentine's Day, for example. I found a huge Kiss chocolate at the store, so I wanted to try to do a simple photo shoot with it. I didn't take too many pictures to begin with, but there were just a couple that I liked. I'm not too sure what I could have done better for this idea, maybe just better lighting and a different pose with the candy? Either way, I just wanted to take some pictures that would go with the idea of sharing kisses for Valentine's Day, but in this case it was just one giant kiss, and not the one you would probably expect. Earlier in March, before the farmers market meet in Tennessee, there was a different meet in Tennessee. I wasn't exactly thinking of doing a whole photo shoot or anything, but I took a bit of time to take some pictures and somehow got away with two of my favorites for the year. I just sat down on a bench with the sun behind me, did a couple of poses, and the pics came out really good. They're very simple, but I love how relaxed I looked and how beautiful the day was with the sun shining. I think this was also before I realized I could make my selfie stick into a tripod, so I'm pretty sure I took the pictures with one hand while I still had my other paw on. It worked out much better than I expected though, so I'm not complaining. Staying in Tennessee, there was yet another meet at the same park where I got pictures with the No Dogs Allowed sign. This one's pretty self-explanatory. I'm a cat, so when I captioned these I said something along the lines of, "That sign won't stop me because I'm a cat." It's pretty good for rage baiting your dog friends, I won't lie. I didn't do any proper photo shoots at FWA 2025, but I did get a few good pictures that I liked, mostly with other fursuiters. This one was great because it was a lioness fursuiter and me, a puma or a mountain lion fursuiter. So the whole idea of us facing off was just really fun. I'm really sad I don't know who this fursuiter is though. I couldn't find her socials, but I'm still happy I could at least interact with her at the convention. Another one of my favorites were a couple of pictures with Soren Lynx. They're simple, but I like how we pulled off these poses with our paws. It just goes to show how even some quick pictures with others can turn out really good. Another fun one was with this fursuiter who had a ruler and was seeing how tall everyone was. This one always makes me laugh because when I first approached him, there was a moment where I actually questioned whether I was wrong about my height for years, and I was actually 4 feet tall. It just didn't make sense when I was looking at it. Of course, anyone who sees me in person though knows I am a lot taller, totally taller than 6 feet, and I'm not being sarcastic whatsoever, totally not. Now here's one from one of my craziest fursuit outings. I went fursuiting in downtown Nashville with a few furs from Tennessee. The plan was just to walk around town and get a lot of pictures, and this one was the best one for me. These are the kind of pictures that I want to do more often. Find good environments, take advantage of them, and try out new poses. We also went to a smaller town late at night and grabbed some pictures on the street, but my pictures didn't turn out the best. Although it's fun to look back at them because this was a really unique photo shoot, and how often do you just go out fursuiting in the middle of the night, you know? I'd love to do something like this again and get more pictures on empty streets. I really like the concept. One more honorable mention comes from my trip to the Netherlands. For my birthday, Patch took me to Leverkusen in Germany to see the stadium of my favorite German football team. The idea was pretty simple, just get a few pictures in front of the stadium. From where we were standing, Patch suggested that I put up my paw to make it look like I was holding the team's crest, and it looked really good. Nothing super crazy from these pictures, but they were still some of my favorites from last year. I also went to a flower patch in September, which was one of the best photo shoots that I've just had in general. I won't talk too much about this one because I did make a video on it, so if you're curious about how that fursuit outing and photo shoot went, feel free to check it out. And more recently, I went to a light show at the Botanical Garden that I mentioned earlier. I honestly didn't get nearly as many pictures as I would have liked, but I did get some decent ones. I love pictures with bright lights and dark environments, so I definitely want to take better ones in the future. I also made a video about fursuiting at the light show, so you can go watch that one too if you're interested. Wow, those were a lot of photo shoots, weren't they? I definitely did quite a bit of fursuiting in 2025, and I'm really happy with the pictures that I can look back on. Plus, there's still quite a few I still haven't shared, so it's always exciting being able to do that. I definitely want to do more photo shoots this year, and I want to focus on two things: better outfit combinations and thinking of new poses. Sometimes I think about poses that I could have done after looking back at pictures that I did take, so what I try to do now is look through pictures of fursuiters I like so I can try to come up with ideas before I actually do a photo shoot. And it actually helps a little bit. But I'm gonna keep trying to get better at posing, that's for sure. That's all I've got for this video though, so thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear about other fursuiters' experiences with doing photo shoots and just taking pictures in general, so if you want to share, just leave a comment. I hope you all enjoyed my little ramble though. I love sharing my favorite pictures, and it's always nice talking about them. For now though, until next time, take care!